In this video, I am going to tell you about some hot bicycle industry news, starting with GT Bicycles shutting down operations or pausing. What's up, everybody? FC here from E-MTB Review, and I do a weekly thing about bike industry news. It's been a bunch of bad news recently, and today is some big bad news with GT Bicycles shutting down operations. Okay, in bicycle retailer industry news, there's a press release, and it is carefully worded, and I'm gonna show it to you right now. And it basically says GT Bicycles pausing new product releases, reducing workforce. Aliso Viejo, and the statement from them is that to ensure a sustainable and successful future, we are implementing a strategic reorientation to align with evolving customer preferences. The brand will focus on core strengths and refining our strategy to position GT for long-term growth. We will continue to sell our current inventory range from our existing inventory, and warranty and customer service will be handled by Cycling Sports Group, a pawn holdings collective of their brands. All right, so that's their statement, right? Okay, but right before this came out, Phil Metz from Skills with Phil just put out a video, and he's an old friend of mine. Play you the first few seconds.
All right, so I just got off a meeting with GT, and it was a group meeting with every athlete that they have, and we were just informed that GT is going to be no more.
GT is going to be no more. All right, so Phil Metz has 571,000 subscribers, and he just put out this video because he got off the phone with a sponsored athlete meeting, and they said, you guys are all out, and no more. And his statement was GT was dissolving. And then he clarified later, he says, no, they're not redissolving. They are just selling out the inventory, and then they'll pause operations. He's an honest guy. He's a frank guy. I know this guy forever. And he's like, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. But it's in conflict with the kind of the soft landing that GT wants. I think what GT wants is to just sell off all inventory, put down all expenses, lay off everyone unless they're core to selling off the inventory, and then put the brand on hold. I think that's what they're going to do. Put the brand on hold, maybe have a couple guys think about the future. Maybe have a couple engineers design something for the future and reintroduce in a couple years. Maybe not. So this is a kind of a new strategy I'm seeing where it's such an important brand, but it's just bleeding money left and right. And they just want to say either bankrupt, but the new strategy is put it on hold. That way, when we revitalize it in the future, it will have some equity, sell off the brand or something. Because, these brands are worth something, and sometimes people can make something out of it. I see a similar thing happening to Jaguar Motors from the UK. Their fabled brand, I hear, is pausing operations. No product releases, and everything frozen, and maybe in a couple of years they'll pop up again. So it's kind of a new strategy. We'll see. It usually doesn't bode well. It doesn't turn out positively for the future, because it's so hard to restart everything when you shut everything down. But GT is one of the most fabled brands in the bike industry because they've been around 52 years, I believe. And I'll show you some highlights of it. I think when I started riding in 1995, both my buddies had the GT RTS full suspension. I had a Manitou hardtail, and then one of the guys got a GT LTS, and we were like so drooling over it. I never owned one, but it was the bike to have. And I'll give you I put together a short history of GT. So GT, the legacy is in 1972. It was started by Gary Turner, a BMX racer and a welder. Gary Turner, GT. And then 1993.
An all-encompassing passion at GT Bikes. And I think it just kind of spilled over to everybody. You know, everybody who worked there was always excited to be there.
So they had a heyday. They were just an amazing company, BMX, and they got into mountain biking. They were well positioned, but they always focused on racing. You know, that was their core: racing, racing, racing. And so it drove their product development. Their engineers would be you would travel with the bike racers to get some instant feedback. And they had some legendary racers: Julie Furtado, Brian Lopes. I mean, I don't even know the BMX guys, but they were legendary from what I hear. And they were the team to beat because they seem to have the best equipment with the RTS and LTS. Okay. In fact, there's a race where Julie Furtado was a cross country racer. He just jumped on an RTS and won a downhill or World Cup race. Okay, in 1983, Gary Turner sold to Bain Capital. You know, and you sell because there's difficulty. You don't sell when things are going well. Usually, you need some capital, you need some money to keep production going, and then you have to get some. They'll either give you money or you just sell to a new owner. Bain Capital, 1999, Gary Turner leaves GT. So that was a big moment in GT. That's pretty much when I started really getting into biking. And you know, the racing was there, but the product development has declined in some ways. 2001, they were acquired by Pacific Cycle. So this is the story of GT, and this is where the difficulties come in. I think they were just a heavy company, heavy cost company, because they had so much racing, and they needed a lot of capital to keep it going, and that's why they had to keep selling, reselling. In 2004, they were acquired by Canadian company Dorel. In 2021, Pawn Holdings, in their land grab for cycling, the new mode of transportation, they were an automotive group. They acquired Dorel for $810 million. They probably acquired Santa Cruz Bikes before that for a similar number. So Pawn is in for a lot of money. All right. And in Feb 2023, there was an infusion of capital in GT. So 2023, that's only last year, 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, where infusion of money in GT revitalized the brand. They went from 8 employees to this planned 23 employees, hired Jason Shears from Envy and many other companies, Crank Brothers, and they moved to Aliso Viejo, kind of get the energy going again. Okay, and my friend Drew from Lone Wolf made a great video about their team, their office, and their team. Interviewed everyone. So I think a lot of those people will be out of a job now. Okay, so that's GT. You know, and I hope to show you some images of this brand. So they are, you know, it's tough. You know, 52 years in the business, not a lot. Everyone thinks about them kind of like Kona, you know, as a nostalgia, as part of our legacy, our past. But no one is ponying up their credit card and buying from them because their new products are not that relevant. They're not in the forefront. They're not cool anymore. They don't have the best enduro bikes. They don't have the best e-bikes, gravel bikes. So it's tough. And for Pawn Holdings is in a lot of trouble. You know, I can see that. Basically, you know, you can see that in Santa Cruz, where they keep replacing the people, and the bike industry is just in a quagmire of inventory and low sales. So it's tough. We gotta hunker down, dig ourselves out of this hole. And Pawn has an even bigger problem, which is they're an auto group, $1 billion operation in autos, but autos are having a ton of problems. So I'm sure they're not doing well. And auto manufacturers are going through a big transition. You know, I think the two factors are the rise of electric cars and the rise of Chinese manufacturers and suppliers. So Germany is hurting in the auto industry. So, and then that leads me to my second piece of news. So that's GT bicycles for you. And the second piece of news is Bosch, maker of e-bike motors. They are having auto industry difficulties. So basically, they've been cutting hours for their people, and now they're saying they're going to lay off 10,000 employees in in Bosch Automotive. I'm not sure if Bosch e-bike is affected. Hopefully not, but Bosch Automotive is hurting quite a bit. And there's some other German auto conglomerates that are hurting as well. So that's a big one. All right. So two more pieces of news, just short ones. The third one is eBay bans e-bike sales by private sellers. Okay. So if you have a private, you're person to person, consumer to consumer, and you want to sell your e-bike, no more, because there's too much risk in the safety of this e-bike. So no more selling private sellers selling e-bikes. All right. And the last piece of news is Rhino racks by RockyMounts. So Rhino racks, they do a lot of overlanding racks, and they seem really good at what they do. I think they're Australian, and then they're buying RockyMounts, really good racks, but forever a small company in Colorado. So we'll see what happens with that relationship. So thank you for tuning in. Big news, obviously, and let me know in the comments. What you think of GT. How it's affected your what's your history with GT? Have you owned a GT bike? Have you always related to the GT racing team and their piece and what do you think of their position in mountain bikes history? Thanks a ton, everybody.